Just to bring people behind the curtain a little bit, producers and hosts and everybody all gets together and plan out the day, plan out the week, and there'll be certain people that just fit the day based on what we want to talk about and say, hey, would you want to have this person on or would you want to have that person on? Does that fit today? When Herm Edwards' name came up, I go, I don't care what day it is.
Hello?
That man is a great conversation no matter what the hell's going on.
You said it.
No matter what day it is. So it's Thursday, and that means, Coach, it's a good day to talk to you. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Good to talk to you guys again. And thank you for your nice words. I appreciate it.
Herm Edwards, right here on Willard and Dibs, 95.7
I think it's actually Herm's Day. It's not Thursday. It's Herm's Day,
That's a good point. That's a good point. We'll use that for the rest of the way.
Thank you.
It's also just another day where we're all working through what has become the most talked about camp in the entire NFL. Coach, if you were dealing with a dynamic like this, Mr. Irrelevant with a playoff run on a resume and a couple of former number 3 overall picks and the politics involved, how would you handle that?
I think the 49ers will handle it correctly. Purdy won. He won the team over, and rightly so. Here's a guy that, got picked where he got picked, and all of a sudden, due to injury, and this has kind of been the quarterback's history with the 49ers, poor Kyle, he's about to scratch his head. I got to play another quarterback and still find a way to win. And this guy went in, and obviously what he did, taking over, and then in the playoffs, he wins the game, but then gets hurt against Philly. But if there's competition, but I get all that. But really, I mean, he's the guy right now until he shows you different.
So he's the guy, and you get into practice, and you got 4 QBs that you're trying to find reps for. How do you, as a head coach, dole out the reps to make it not only somewhat even so guys can compete, but you do want to nurture your number 1 guy to get him ready? How do you go about doing that?
Well, Purdy, they got to bring him along a little bit slower than everybody else because of the elbow, correct? So they've got him on a pitch count, which is smart. It'll be interesting when they get into the preseason how much he'll play, and then how much, as you mentioned, the backup guys will play. I think when you look at the backups, they need to play. They need to go in there and play football games because you got to protect yourself. That's been their Achilles heel, is they lose quarterbacks. And I'm hoping that's not the case by any stretch of the imagination. But, you got to get the quarterbacks 1 and 2, and especially to play with that first group so they can get a feel for it. And it's one thing to practice. It's another thing to get some live reps in the preseason. And Kyle's a veteran coach. He'll make sure that those guys are getting reps with the first group.
Herm Edwards with us here on 95.7 The Game. Coach, I think back to other situations where there are like 2 guys who both have big names or maybe 2 presumptive starters. Most recent example with this team, Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick. You kind of have to get one off of the team because it's just too much, right? It's almost like a distraction. Is there any chance of something like that happening here?
I don't know that. I don't think that'll happen this season. I really don't. I think the season will play out. That's similar to Joe and Steve Young.
Yep.
And I was involved in that one because I was an assistant coach in Kansas City when we got Joe. And, Steve Young became the quarterback. Now, that's a whole different deal. I mean, if you're a 49er fan, that's like being a Green Bay fan for all those years. They go Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and you guys go Joe Montana and Steve Young. That ain't all bad.
That's pretty decent. And just to go back to that for a moment, so you get Joe in Kansas City, and he shows up. How much was he ready with hair on fire to take down the 49ers and motivated to show everyone that they made the wrong choice?
Well, I don't know so much. And we did play the 49ers, but I played against Joe. And as a player, it's unique because then I started coaching, and all of a sudden I was on the coaching staff when Joe got there. And what Joe brought to us as a football team, similar to what I think Aaron Rodgers is trying to do, what Stafford did, what Tom Brady did. We were a good Kansas City football team. But when Joe and Marcus Allen showed up in Kansas City, all of a sudden there was the belief that, you know what, we can do this. We can go to the Super Bowl. And if Joe doesn't get knocked out against the Buffalo Bills, we're going to the Super Bowl with that team. So he brought that. And there's certain guys that when they walk in your locker room, you just become better. I mean, it's like kind of like, hey, man, if you're a wide receiver, I can remember it in practice. Those guys were scared to death to drop Joe Montana's pass. Because he knew if they dropped it, he wasn't going to throw it to them anymore.
Love it. Herm Edwards with us here, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Hey, Coach, looking at another player in this camp, people may remember you were Brandon Ayuk's college coach, and now he has a real buzz around him this camp. He already, of course, had a great year last year, so we know he's good, but is he great is now sort of the question that's being asked. What do you see as the ceiling for him?
Well, I think his maturity, he's and visiting with John, it's kind of ironic. You guys know how close we are with the Litch family. And that's the first question I asked him. Believe it or not, we were in that stadium watching Taylor Swift with our families. and the wives are watching Taylor Smith. We're sitting there talking about football. And I asked him about Ayuk. I said, how's Ayuk doing? He says, hey, he's probably one of our best. He's the best route runner right now. His maturity, they like him, and his ability to make plays with the ball in his hand. But they're unique. I mean, they got Debo, they got McCaffrey, they got Kittle. They've got some guys on offense now that scare you to death.
How do you, as a head coach or a play caller, make sure that there's enough football to go around? Because you got Kittle and McCaffrey, you got Debo and Ayuk, and everybody wants to eat now, and you got an offense that's high-powered, and Shanahan's got that beautiful laminated play sheet. How do you keep everybody involved?
Well, and that's what Kyle does really well. He's a great play caller, and there's series where he goes through, and the key is real simple. The quarterback has to complete passes because then you go on 10 to 12-play drives. And with that being said, all those guys are going to get touches. That 3 and out and punting the ball, that's not good. And when you watch the 49ers, they kind of methodically beat you up. You know, they get 10, 12 possessions at times. And they go down the field, and all these guys are involved. Now, if one of them breaks a big play, could be a touchdown, but they're going to touch the ball. And I think there's certain calls he makes in certain situations, depending where the ball's at, who he's going to get the ball to. And all these guys know it. I saw Debo on an interview earlier, and he was talking about how Kyle does a great job of really getting the ball to the playmakers.
Coach, I feel like we're rolling past something that's real important here, and I don't want to get too far away from it. How was the Taylor Swift show?
You know what? It's unbelievable because we and John were laughing because we went 5 years ago as our families. We went up there 5 years ago. And so we took pictures, and we looked at the pictures, and we remember her then, and it was like, okay, nice artist. I tell you what now, she's unbelievable. I mean, when she walked on that stage, they never stopped hollering for 3 hours. She performed for 3 hours now, guys. It was. I said, she can't keep doing this, can she? She just kept going. She sang every album. I didn't know all the songs, but I knew a few, and I was like, she is unbelievable. She's a fantastic performer.
A little bit like Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, the whole deal was just unbelievable.
I mean, the meteoric rise and the stay of excellence. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or is she in that sort of stratosphere?
Well, I'll put her in this one. What I heard in my lifetime, and I've never seen it, I didn't see him. I knew him when I was young, and he was an older performer. Was Frank Sinatra, was, they say, unbelievable. And the next guy I saw was Michael Jackson. He was really good now. She's starting to get into that conversation. Woo! Hear people talk. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. That's big. Now there's one I'm going to say that I saw when I was young, and it's a shame that his life ended too soon, was Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
Hey.
I saw Jimi Hendrix live down here in the Monterey Pop Festival. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was 13 years old. My babysitter took me. It was the damnest thing I ever seen. He was playing left-handed on the guitar, and he put the lighter fluid on the guitar, and I said, I'm a Jimi Hendrix fan now.
Wow, that is a list. Sinatra, Hendrix, Michael Jackson, and Taylor Swift. That's your
I'm telling you,
man.
I tell people I saw Jimi Hendrix live.
Woo-wee.
Unbelievable.
No,
With the lighter fluid and the babysitter. That's a great story,
It
Coach.
is. And you know what, Herm? I'm almost glad that she's performing at the level she is because I have a 14-year-old daughter, and if tickets were only like 500, she'd be like, come on, Dad. But they're like 1,500, and so she's like, I know we're not going. I'm like, you're right, we're not going.
It's unbelievable. She's in L.A. now. I guess she's doing 6 shows in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And then she's going to, she's going to Mexico. She's going a lot of places, but she is remarkable. She's fantastic.
Coach, other than being a diehard Swiftie and running with your buddy John Lynch, what are you doing and what's next for you? Because you got fire, you got desire, and you're so good at so many things. What's Herm Edwards got planned up next?
I'm good. I'm working back for the worldwide leader. So, I'm on there working with those guys. Again, that's been a lot of fun. It's get to talk about football, and I've got 2 good daughters now. One's going to be a senior. The other one's going to be a junior. It's just fun being around them and watching them grow up. They're swimmers. They got a big swim meet this weekend. That's why I'm not going to the Hall of Fame because Rondé Barber, another kid that I coach, they were all on that defense. That Buccaneers defense was Rondé, John Lynch, Sapp, and Brooks. That's 4 Hall of Famers on that defense we had down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't go to the Hall of Fame because my daughter's got a big swim meet this weekend, so I'm going to miss it. But, it's fun watching them. It really is. It's a lot of fun watching my girls grow up.
Herm Edwards with us here, 95.7 The Game. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask this to you as well. What do you know? What do you think about all of this talk about the Pac-12 collapsing?
Wow. It's interesting. But it looks like it's headed that way. There'll be some type of, I don't know what they're going to call it. I mean, if the teams that are leaving projectedly that they say are going to leave, is it the Pac-8 again? The conference I played in? I played the Pac-8, guys. I go that far back. When it was the Pac-8. There was only 8 teams in the conference. I don't know if it's that. I mean, you hear Washington and Oregon want to leave now, maybe Arizona State. What does Stanford, Cal, what does Oregon State do? What does Washington State do, right? I mean, you sit there and you try to figure all that out, and I'm not an AD or a president, but I tell you what, this is kind of interesting.
We're kind of getting down to the Pac-2 maybe with just Cal and Stanford, and I don't know what that would be in terms of them being independents, but what do you make for this being good or bad for the general product of the NCAA and college football in particular?
Well, I think it looks like if the Pac-12 teams leave, and they're talking about Florida State leaving, getting out of the ACC. Yep. So some of these conferences are trying to get more teams, and we know TV generates the money, and you need it for what the new world is in college sports. Right? NIL is real. And these conferences generate enough money with the TV contracts that you got to be a player in it. Because if you're not going to be able to keep some of your good players and then obviously go get some that are maybe not happy somewhere else.
Coach, before we let you go, circling back to the Niners, I wonder how you see them in the whole NFL landscape. Do you view them as the Super Bowl favorite this year?
They're right there with the Eagles. I think it's the the Eagles, San Francisco, or it could be San Francisco and the Eagles. I say you got to go with the Eagles right now because of the quarterback, obviously. In the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys are sitting there. Dallas Cowboys got a good football team. There's no doubt about that. The Dallas Cowboys' problem is real simple, guys. They haven't won a divisional round game since 1995. That's their problem. And the last 2 times they played in the playoffs, after the first win, they played San Francisco. And it's hard to beat them guys because they're a good football team now. Nope. I mean, so injury is going to have a lot to do with it for these teams. But I think those are the teams right now everybody's looking at. And look, there's going to be some other teams that rise up, but I think Dallas is one of them. The 49ers are for sure one. The Eagles have to be in the NFC, and then the AFC, obviously, you got the Bills. They're always talking about the Bills. I don't know what you do with Kansas City. Kansas City is chasing the New England Patriots, trying to win 11 division championships. I mean, Mahomes is just something different. I mean, I don't know how you stop those guys. Maybe you tell him the game starts at 5 o'clock and it started at 1. Other than that, I don't know how you stop them.
Coach, so much fun to talk to you. And above all else, if you have any extras to any of these Swift concerts, let me know, will you please?
I'll let you know. It's something to be seen. She was. I can't say she was good as Jimmy, because at 13 years old, when you see Jimi Hendrix play a guitar left-handed and he burns it up, that's pretty hard to beat.
No doubt. The left-hander in Monterey at the Jazz Fest as a 13-year-old with a babysitter breaking curfew. Lighter fluid. Whew.
Love it.
Yep, great stuff.
Great stuff, Coach.
Herm, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right, there he goes, Herm Edwards. See? I don't care what day it is.
It's Herm's Day.
We're talking to Herm.
Yeah. Best day of the week is Herm's Day.
How good is that dude?
The best.